Good morning. Good morning. What is up, everybody? Good morning. Thank you for joining me. Our first live stream of the week of May 21st, 2024. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had an excellent weekend and got your trading week started off on the right foot yesterday. We're going to go through some overall market overview insights. What am I seeing? What should we be looking for as far as our trades go this coming week? I'm going to do several trade reviews. We did do member selected tickers over the weekend for those who are members of the Xtrades Discord. You guys saw those plans posted in the options watch list Sunday evening. We'll go over our live stream plans that we did last Thursday. We haven't had a chance to reflect or look back on any of those as of yet. So we'll get that done this morning, and then we'll start working on some new trade plans to get ready for today and the rest of the week. Also seeing that unknown reviews is here already with a ticker request for snow. So feel free to go ahead and start dropping your ticker requests in the chat. Also, before I forget, let me get the live stream kicked off over in the Xtrades Discord. And I'll get my screen sharing going over there as well. Just a reminder for those watching via Discord that we are shifting everything over to our YouTube feed moving forward. We're going to start that June 1. So as of June 1st, make sure that you are coming to the YouTube side of things. Don't rely on Discord for too much longer because eventually we are going to phase it out so we can focus solely on YouTube and what we're doing here, trying to get the word out on Xtrades. So, with that being said, I hope everybody is doing well this morning. Let me know if you guys have any kind of video or audio issues. I am switched up my microphone here this morning, so hopefully that's not creating any problems. Looking at my streaming software, it looks like it's picking up the audio just fine, but you never know, right? Got to make sure that you guys are receiving as well as it seems like I'm sending. Okay, so let's dig in. Let's start talking about what's going on here through the lens of S&P futures. What's up, Chris? Good morning, my brother. How are you? Good to see you here as always. Glad to have you back in the mix. So, what are we looking here at here on S&P futures ES? Well, we've got a kind of a tight situation set up here, right? Just from my perspective, I'm sure there are those out there who are seeing things a little bit differently than I am. But what I'm looking at is really this supply and demand zone that are kind of stacked one right on top of the other. Supply here overhead, demand here underneath here on the four. These are based on the 4 hour chart. We're currently looking at the hourly, so if it looks a little off, that's probably why. So far, ES has held the key support right there with the Neptune bullish flag, key buy level right there. That's exactly where we bounced off of Friday afternoon and pushed up back into the supply zone, challenged the top of it, but ultimately that challenge failed, and we're continuing to try to eat through that. We've seen a little quick test of demand below, but I'd say until one of these gives way, market could stay fairly sideways and range bound at least in the near term. So, what are we looking for from a futures standpoint that should give us some insights on whether or not we should be overall playing for downside or playing for upside? Again, remember that individual tickers don't always have to follow what the market at large is doing, but a lot of times what the market at large is doing can give us at least some guidance on which way we should be leaning with some of our individual ticker trades if you're not out there trading SPY or QQQ or any of the ETFs. So what are we looking for? I'd be looking for a break below this 53.12. 75. This is, I think, an old Fibonacci extension level I put together. I don't know how long ago, just happens to line up perfectly with where this demand zone is setting. So I say just so happens, not really probably a coincidence. These things do tend to develop at existing support and resistance levels. So 53.12.75, I think below that, we get a good confirmed break below that. We could see a deeper pullback, probably down to somewhere in this 52.89 to 52.84 area. That would also equate to a retracement back to the 200 SMA here on the hourly chart. We are still a little bit overextended. Whether or not we consolidate our way through that or actually pull back and retrace back to the 200 SMA remains to be seen. But certainly that would be a good spot to look to potentially start loading up some long swings in the hopes that that 200 SMA retracement will cause um, a bounce. So again, somewhere in this 52.89 to 52.84.75 range. I'd use this demand area just below 52.76 if you wanted to really give it room. Let's just say down to 52.70 as a area that I would look at for kind of a potential stop loss scenario if you do decide to load up longs off that 200 SMA test. And again, that's a what if scenario. There's no guarantee that we see a retracement back down that far, but certainly, again, below this demand zone, I could see a retracement back to that 200 SMA whenever it finds some confluence with one of these existing support and resistance levels. Stop loss below at the demand area. If we get a breakout, then we start getting into fib extensions again. And so I think, these two that we have overhead are a bit tight. I don't expect a breakout to be that small as far as printing a new all-time high if it does happen. So I'd be looking really, I think probably your safer bet is looking for a break over 53.50. By the time that breaks and confirms, we should also be over this 53.52 level. At which point I think we're looking at 53.67 and then on up into the 5400s for ES here. So definitely could probably do with an update to some of my fib extension levels. I don't think we'll see that all-time high breakout between now and Thursday. So I'll take a look at these again before our Thursday live stream at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll add those to the chart so we maybe have some more granular targets to focus on versus these larger fib extension moves that I've got plotted out from, I forget how long ago. I'm sure it's been probably at least a few months now. So anyway, that's what we're looking at with the markets. Let's take a look at our trade plans from last week. We'll start off with the Thursday live stream plans that we did pre-market. Amazon was one of the tickers that you all requested. So far, it's kind of been in the no trade zone here between 183.10 and 188. Still looking for a breakout to play for the upside or a breakout to play to the downside. One thing that I would shift now that some more time has passed and kind of seeing where things are currently sitting on Amazon, one update I would make or one modification I would make to this trade plan is if we can get a break, a good confirmed break over 185.09. I think that could open up upside up to this 188.02 level for a test there, and then shift your stop loss average down to the put entry level here at 182.95. If 182.95 gives way, I don't see a whole lot, at least here on the 15-minute. Let's check the hourly. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot that's going to catch it, at least in the near term, from an indicator perspective. So, excuse me. I would expect to see a move down toward a near PT1 down at 179.88 if we do get that confirmed break below 182.95. So Amazon plans still on watch. Keep it, your alerts on it. Again, make sure you're setting alerts at these entry levels, or if I, happen to mention an adjusted potential entry level like this 185.09, make sure that you're setting an alert on your charting platform, whatever you're using for Amazon. If it crosses above 185.09, you should have your eyes on it, looking for that confirmation. So we can try to play this for upside up to 188.02 with a nice stop loss there below at 182.95. Applied Materials was another one. I think this was one of my homie Unknown Reviews requests. He really likes those lead up or really close to earnings reports. So I'm guessing Snow might be reporting earnings here pretty shortly. Given that Snow was one of the requests he put out this morning. But Applied Materials was really kind of a no trade scenario up until the earnings report. We did get a break below just going into the close, and it's a little bit hard to tell if that would have actually been there. But again, I would say that's a very iffy kind of entry. However, we did see some of these downside targets play out. Almost got to PT3 before it bounced on the earnings numbers that were released, which were, at least according to TradingView, which isn't always the most accurate, at least decently positive. But overall, even and this is, again, kind of the major risk of playing an earnings report, right? Is you could have had this move to the downside, but by the time the market opens and you're able to do anything with your options contracts, you're right back at pretty much a non-move total IB crush here on AMAT. So again, be very careful when it comes to trading options for earnings reports. It is, I would call it a fool's errand. I'm sure folks make money from time to time, whether or not, it's something that you could do consistently and ultimately profitably. I would say I'd be surprised, but I'm sure somebody that's out there is doing it, has figured out a way. So anyway, did open right within our range after earnings, did give us a breakdown, back test of that put entry level, and then took us down to PT1 here at 212.64 and a little bit further tested and really kind of attempted a break, but not a great confirmed break of the 333 SMA there. Ultimately recovered, pushed back up over our call entry level, got very close to PT1 here for calls after bouncing out of the some of the some of the profit taking zones on the short side of this plan. Um, but just remember that when we're looking at these targets up here overhead, these are fib extensions. These are levels that have never been tested. They will be a little less accurate. Make sure you give them a little bit more room, margin of error side of things, but could have easily played this on the breakout. And once again, I love this long short tool in TradingView, but sometimes it gets in the way. So I'm just going to slide it over this way. So we saw the breakover, nice back test there of the call entry, and tried to back test here again this morning. So keep your eyes on this one. As long as it's holding 218.88, it could make another run for a high a day yesterday, or maybe even finally getting up to this 222.13 level. Again, over that, these are just projections, our best guesses on where we're going to find resistance, considering that this is all price discovery. Price action's never been up in that range for applied materials before. So again, be a little bit careful. Just a reminder on earnings reports, because again, this probably folks saw this initial move and were like, oh, my puts are going to print. And then by the time the market opened the following day, both sides totally got screwed on that earnings report. So that happens, I feel like, more often than not, that both sides get IV crushed. Starbucks was the last ticker that we did on Thursday's live stream. Dropped down, caught our put entry level as support really nicely. Bounced from there, found some resistance there at the key selling pressure from on Neptune going into the close Friday. Eventually, right after open, flipped all that, broke over our SMAs, and is now pushing to the upside. Got pretty close to a test and rejection of the call entry, but ultimately broke above. Now seems to be holding the 77.46, 76.42 buy zone. This is our call entry and our stop loss as support. 76.42 looks like it could potentially be a good dip buy opportunity with the SMAs both sitting right there. Also 77.55. As long as we're holding above that, you could look to execute the upside trade plan. Make sure you stick to the plan. Stop loss at 76.42, first target at 79.73, and then on up to 82.56 and 84.38. So those are the live stream plans that we did last Thursday. Member selected tickers from over the weekend. AMD was the highest voted ticker. We saw this one really kind of chopping around, not quite getting to PT1, but I did mention this in the Discord. This trend line right here, it was an ascending trend line, a support trend line that we held for quite some time. We broke below that back in mid-April. We've seen a few back tests of that trend line that have all led to rejections, and saw that again yesterday. So just be a little bit mindful of that. That's still sitting around, probably really close to this high a day rejection that we had at 168.52. Not a key level from our plan, but a level I did have on my chart. Looks like it was the exact high a day. But really like this dip buy setup, especially if you're one of my Neptune subscribers, where we've pulled back. We're testing that key buying pressure there on Neptune, the 15-minute chart. The stop loss average down from the upside trade plan. SMA is still cruising to the upside here bullishly. We finally have allowed those to catch up after that pretty big move that AMD had last week. So now that this is caught up and we're no longer overextended, could build a base and see another leg up here. So keep your eyes on AMD, especially as long as it's holding 164.46. Neptune sitting in the exact same spot as it was yesterday. So could see another nice dip buy opportunity there. The one thing I would say, slight caveat to the difference in the setup today versus yesterday, that would put us below the 200 SMA and a potential signal that we are losing some key support and momentum. So just kind of be mindful of this. But overall, AMD trade plan that's posted for you guys in the options watch list section of the Discord. So just keep an eye on it. For those that, and one thing I've talked about several times on these live streams is be very careful first 15 to 30 minutes of the day. Again, here we see the first 30 minutes, a little bit of a bull trap, fake out, but love that dip buy opportunity about an hour after the open. Again, off that really nice confluence with Neptune and our plan level. Clean Spark, this is another one that came from the member selected tickers over the weekend. Same scenario, right? Be very careful about getting tricked into jumping after the initial move within that first 15 to 30 minutes of market open. That's just my personal approach. And a lot of times it keeps me from getting into bad trade setups. So ultimately, we did build a base off of the put entry support here at 15.99, call it 16 flat, and big push yesterday for Clean Spark all the way up through several of our levels, all the way up to the call entry level. So could have played from 16 all the way up to 1831 on that if you had the patience to wait out that initial morning fake out to the downside. It is now broken above and is back testing 1831 as support. I'd say as long as 1831 is holding, and even better if we see another test and start to see buyers stepping in at 1831 again. I like this for a potential call entry, pushing to the upside toward 1995. Keep your stop loss at 1723. The other thing that I'd say is this is probably a good one to play with shares, especially after that big move yesterday. Could see at least a day of consolidation or some profit taking. So, going with equities versus options takes the whole timing factor, or really reduces the need for that timing factor to be as accurate as we would normally require for an options trade. So keep Clean Spark on your watch. Yeah. The first 15 to 30 minutes is very, very tricky. So be careful, Chris. I agree 100%. And unknown reviews. Good to know that you're playing those earnings reports smartly. KD, I see your VST. That's another new one I haven't seen in a while. Trade plan for Crocs. It's been a while, but yeah, we'll circle back to all these here in a moment. So Shop was also member selected tickers. Really kind of nothing to see here so far. Seems to be trapped between the bearish flag here on Neptune and the SMAs. Did have a nice confluence. I mean, both the 200 and the 333 sitting right there on the 5-minute. Let's see what the 15-minute looks like. Yeah, also showing support, also showing Neptune support there. So nice confluence across multiple time frames, showing support at that 58.32 level. I would say as long as 58.32 holds, Shop could be a good potential long setup. I would certainly keep my stop here at the put entry down at 56.99. First target at 59.72. If you can catch something right off of 58.32, be a little bit careful with this though, because that is a straight up, looks like one-to-one risk reward setup. Generally speaking, we want risk reward to skew in our favor, more like 1 to 1.5 to 2, and that's somewhere in that range to again help make sure that we're maximizing our winners and minimizing keeping our losses small. All right, so let's get into some new trade plans for this morning. And the first one that we had come in from unknown reviews, Snow. Let's see what Snow's got for us. Earnings Wednesday after hours. So a little bit more time on this one versus some of the recent ones that we've gotten from you, buddy. All right, so let's take a look at this. I have looked at Snow in the past. Does seem to be struggling a little bit with this weekly resistance there at 164.97. Snow is not one that I trade often, though. I think it's one that I really kind of just do by request. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Snow also has a pretty wicked wide bid ask spread. So be very careful with that. Do not market order anything that has a wide bid ask. That's just asking to put yourself into a tough spot that you don't need to be in. So keep that in mind, not just specific to Snow, but anything with a wide bid ask. I happen to recall, I think last time I looked at the options chain on Snow, it did have a pretty wide bid ask spread. Could be wrong about that though. All right. So I just want to check a couple things here. with some of this resistance that we found shy of this 168.22 level. Yeah, thanks CD for confirming that. I thought it was one of those that has a pretty vicious wide spread, which again can make it a little bit challenging finding good entries and exits as far as getting fills on your options contracts, but doesn't mean don't trade it. I know plenty of people who actually love to trade snow. I'm just not one of them. I don't like monkeying around with wide bid ask spreads personally. It's, you know, I just don't like it. Never have, never will. I don't care, how much money's sitting in my account. I don't like being in a tricky spot where I can be right and have my plan play out, but have a hard time executing the plan because I can't get a good fill on either side. That's just it's a frustration. I have learned to be selective about the tickers that I play, which I have found to be very advantageous for myself personally. And so wide bid ask tickers are in the category of tickers I generally avoid. All right. Trying to nail down a few of these hourly levels. Again, I'm not sure when the last time I was looking at was, I'm sorry, when the last time I looked at snow was. That's probably the best way to say that. So I just want to make sure that I'm not neglecting any levels that might be in this range that I've clearly not mapped out thoroughly. All right, so my question is for myself. Yeah, okay. So I think what I'm looking at here for snow, we want to see a break over 166.97, call it 167 if you want. I think that brings a first target at 168, or I'm sorry, 169.82. I was looking at this weekly level as a potential entry, but I think it would better serve us as a backstop stop loss if we can break over 167. So set our stop loss there at 164.97. Kind of a tight, not kind of, a very tight PT1 and 2. There's decent, it's more room than it looks like here the way I've got my chart set up. It's a little over $1, but there's another potential rejection right there that I can see taking place. But over that, we could see a much bigger move up to 175. So sometimes things don't have nice measured moves. That's fine. You got to do what the chart is telling you to do as far as setting up your trade plans go. And that's definitely what this one looks like to me. So kind of a little potential double resistance rejection opportunity there between 169.82 and 171.04, but over 171 could see a bigger move up to 175. Okay, downside. Hmm. So, all right, I have a question for you, unknown reviews. Um, do you want a more aggressive entry, potential downside entry, or do you want a more patient, confirmed downside entry? I'll let you make the call on this one. Aggressive or conservative is the question for unknown reviews. Aggressive. Okay. All right. So this would be the aggressive entry then. 163.49 will share a stop loss. I was looking at two different things, right? Either using 163.49 as our stop loss and 161.52 as the entry for puts. I mean, I should have guessed, but you know what? I'm trying to make things maybe a little bit more interactive just by asking. All right, so yeah, I was kind of debating between this being the stop loss, this being a put entry. I do kind of lean toward the aggressive plan because the more conservative one does potentially put us into an issue with this key buying area in 200 SMA. So it gives us some room before we hit that if we go with the more aggressive option. But because we're going a little bit more aggressive, also a little bit tighter on the stop loss, um, first target here at 161.52, that would have been the put entry the way I was looking at it for a more confirmed conservative setup. Second price target down here at 159.11, and below that, we've also got the 333 coming up right there at 157.77. Again, we'll share a stop loss with the upside trade plan. So a little bit, again, not nicely measured moves between all of our price targets, but again, that's not always going to be the case. And with snow, that seems to not be the case. So remember, make sure that you're picking levels based on what the chart's showing you as far as setting up your trade plans go. Don't base it on trying to have the perfect risk reward or anything like that, or try to have specific, size moves between each price target. Go with where your confluence is and where price action, price history has shown you that it would be smart to take profits, take entries, etc. All right, so here is the, I don't stay long. Okay. So snow live stream trade plans. Good to know. Unknown reviews. So there's the chart for that. Let me also post this in the options watch list for our friends following along in the Discord. All right, so just to recap this, what are we looking for here on snow? We're looking for a break over 166.97 to take calls or play this for upside. Over 166.97, we've got targets at 169.82, 171.04, and 175 flat, with a stop loss average down at 164.97. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 163.49. That should bring targets at 161.52. 159.11 and 157.77 with a shared stop loss average down level with the upside trade plan there at 164.97. Those are your snow trade plans. There you go. Unknown reviews. Best of luck to you. Hide out a net. If I get a chance, well, I got a chance. Let's take a look. Why do I know this name? Arista Networks. I know the ticker. Cloud Networking Solutions. Got it. Okay, volume. Plenty of time until the next earnings report. Okay, let's take a look at it. It's going to be a regular trading hours ticker. Clearly, I have not ever charted this one. I've heard the ANET ticker mentioned. Don't know a whole lot about it. Clearly, I've never traded it or even really looked at the chart based on what we're seeing here, but that's okay. All right, so other interesting thing here, all-time high, essentially. We're at the doorstep of that. Also interesting already, has built up a little weekly level here at 308.24. And I mean, did so in short order. All right, so let's see what else we got. Um, Some interesting levels, but not weekly levels. At least not that we can confirm. This is an interesting resistance, but again, not a weekly level. This could be an interesting level, but I don't think it's a weekly. Let's also mark off this current all-time high. All right, let's keep it rolling. So question one, can we nail down these kind of placeholder levels? I think there's something sitting right about there. Let's check this guy out. This one's maybe a little bit higher. Probably sits right about here. Like that. Man, this thing's a little bit all over the place. Not that that's the end of the world. It's an interesting level. Yeah, something there. Anything else is the question. A couple of gaps near that level. Yeah, there's probably something there too. I think that's more than likely gonna do it for the daily chart. All right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, I like this level. Something there. This is a weird. It seems like there is a little bit of a flip of support to resistance up here. Just not. It's not clean enough, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we'll take a look on a smaller time frame. Maybe that'll show us what we should be looking at or how we should be identifying that level. Something there, although I'm probably getting into the weeds a little bit. My apologies. I'm just noticing I'm kind of putting in a lot of levels that are, I think, probably not in the near term, in the picture here, near term. Definitely one right there, though. All right, yeah, we're going to have to go hourly. And let's start to look at our indicators. That's an interesting confluence right there. Neptune lined up perfectly with the weekly support level there. There is something here. It's not clean on either side. But we are in price discovery, so it's going to probably take a little while before these levels really kind of clean themselves up and become as accurate as I'd like them to be when I'm doing support and resistance, but sometimes you got to work with what you got. Sometimes what you got to work with isn't much when you're in price discovery. All right, anything else that jumps out at me? Otherwise, I think we're ready to put together a plan for this. Let me get this out of the way. Um, hmm. Well, again, we don't have much to work with, but what we got, I like there being an hourly level there. All right, other thing we're going to need to do with extensions. This has clearly been a pretty strong trend that led to all-time highs. Question is, where does it really start? I think we're looking at, let's see. I think we're looking at, could be wrong about this. Pretty close. Don't love this right here as far as that trend goes, but that looks like the only other starting spot, and it looks a little bit too steep to me. Yeah, I like it where we had it. All right, so let's get our extensions on here. That is an interesting confluence. Sets up a level there that I didn't have. But there's also another one right here. That looks pretty good, actually. Yeah, it does seem to catch a level right about here that I didn't have. That again is a bit iffy looking at the hourly time frame. All right, so this is what we've got on ANET. Let's hide this. All right, so how do we want to plan this out? That is the question. Actually, I'm going to want those fib extension levels back real quick. So we've got the 382. All right, let's go with this. I think this is really all that we've got for upside as far as a potential plan here, considering we're at all-time high levels. And again, we are in price discovery, so just say keep it small, regardless of which way you play this, because I think things are still kind of being fleshed out, if you will. I think we can also share with this kind of very iffy, speculative. I think there's a level probably around that 317 psychological that could open up room down here to this weekly level on a retracement back to that. There is a gap that starts down here. Small gap, but it's there. It takes us very close to that. I think we'd be looking for that gap entry level to potentially hold. If this does move to the downside, yeah, that looks like a pretty solid level. Actually, there could be, yeah, there could be actually a second, and we're not to the gap yet. So, yeah, I think that looks good. PT's 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So here we go. Hide this guy real quick. All right. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. All right. And then downside. Yeah, that looks pretty solid for on the fly. Whoops. All right. So trade plans. Change that ANET live stream. There you go. Let me post this over in the Discord. All right, so what are we looking for here on ANET? We're looking for a break over 328.76 or current all-time highs to play for the upside. Over that, we're looking for targets at 338.58, 345.37, and 354.05. Those are fib extensions. Remember, price discovery, unpredictable at best. So just keep that in mind. Stop loss average down for the upside and the downside trade plan, 323.22. Speaking of the downside trade plan, we're looking for a break below 317.01. That should give us targets at 308.24, 303.68, and 299.06 with a shared stop loss average down that I just mentioned there at 323.22. Those are your ANET trade plans. All right, let's see what other ticker requests we had in here. NVIDIA, maybe I can give you some quick insight on NVIDIA. Maybe it's around or near an old trade plan. Not so much. Is it? This is all-time highs. Yeah, not yet. Uh, man, NVIDIA is going to need a little bit of work, and I don't have a ton of time to make that happen. If you want some further insight on that Tabra, and if you aren't in the Xtrades Discord, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'll share some insights with you here shortly after market open. But with a little less than 5 minutes before I need to start working on the trade plan, spy plan, I should say, I want to see if I can get like maybe one more fully fleshed out, insightful look at something here. Pan W is the next one from Chris. Chris G, the Muse. Good God, what happened to Palo Alto? Woof. I got crushed on that earnings report. Good God. And crushed again, looks like yesterday. Also puts it right there in the kind of the 3-day rule category, which Chris, I know you know that well. Interesting that it is holding the 333 SMA here, pre-market. Also seems to be, there is a support resistance level there. So I'd say as long as 295.82 holds, very, very risky. Again, earnings report just being yesterday after hours. As long as that's holding, I think you got a shot at it trying to push for 314.96. So this will just be kind of a quick, we're just going to talk through this. You want better confirmation. There is a level sitting right about here at 304.81. So you could use 304.81 as your entry, 295.82 as the stop. But again, as long as 295.82 is holding, could try to make a recovery off that earnings drop. First target there at 314.96. So this is again going to kind of be a quick and dirty trade plan. God, earnings report really beat old Palo Alto up. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it didn't quite line up with where I was looking at, but this is also the other interesting level. Let's see if this gives us some confirmation. Could just be a little tiny bit higher like this. All right, let's see how that, yeah. And I mean, I'm just kind of pulling this third price target out of thin air a little bit, but 326 I think would be the third price target. See if we can get some validation on that. Yeah, pretty close to that. It's not the worst, most skeptical level I've ever seen. Do we have any more price? We've got to have some more price action up through this range, right? Well, I don't know. Not going to go back that far to find it. Thought it was going to be a little bit quicker, easier to find. So this is kind of what I would be looking at here on Palo Alto. Again, just an upside trade plan. This will be exclusive for those of you who are paying attention to the live stream here. I'm not going to post it anywhere, so go ahead and jot these levels down. I'll go a little bit slower for you. But again, as long as 295.82 is holding, I like it as a potential long entry. Also interesting to Chris's point that they dropped on some earnings beats top and bottom. They could have guided low though. Those numbers alone may not be the reason why we saw it pull back. But 295.82 holds, could see it hold these SMAs and try to make a push. So you could use that as an aggressive entry anywhere in this range. More confirmed entry over 304.81, using that 295.82 as a stop loss. That should bring targets at 314.96, 321.07, and 326. We'll see how good this plan plays out, considering I was shooting from the hip a little bit there. All right, so with that, we're about 15 minutes from market open. I do need to go get the SPY plan put together for today, so I want to thank you all very much for joining me. I really do appreciate you being here. Just a reminder, we will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here live on YouTube. So please come back, join a little bit beforehand so you don't miss anything once we kick things off, because I do want to kind of keep things rolling as soon as 8:30 hits and be as efficient with our time as we possibly can be. So, as we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there and get some green. I will see you guys in the Xtrades Discord throughout the day today. Wish you all the best of luck, and I will see you back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Thank you again for joining me. Talk to you soon.